This is Eternal King here, bringing you another gaming video today. So I wanted to have a chance to go a little bit deeper into classes specifically. So we already talked about how the optimal stat spread for Baldur's Gate 3, what that looks like, how you want to build that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about classes and subclasses. So specifically, this is where you kind of want to min-max a little bit in regards to your character's race, their background, all of that stuff. So for example, if we choose a sorcerer and we choose Draconic Sorcerer, we will essentially have an armor class bonus where we essentially have base armor class 13. It means we don't have to cast mage armor, but we also get essentially HP plus 1. So every single level, the game treats it like we have more constitution than we actually have. So if you pair that with a background like something like Dwarf, for example, we'll go down here, we'll pick Dwarf. Gold Dwarf specifically, also gets HP plus 1. So now, every single level, despite the fact that we're a sorcerer and that we're focused very much on maxing out charisma, maxing out, stats that are not necessarily directly related to constitution, we will essentially have plus 2 to our character's HP. So once again, if you want to create a sorcerer that is an S tier class for honor mode specifically, once again, you want to set yourself up for success, right? So there's nothing really stopping you from having 16 constitution, 16 charisma with a gold dwarf background and then a draconic sorcerer background. Right? So essentially the class is Draconic Sorcerer, you're getting plus 1 to HP, Dwarf is giving you another plus 1 to HP, you have 16 Charisma and 16 Constitution. Your class is not going to be as squishy. That's going to make your early game easier, it's going to make your late game easier. It means that your caster is going to scale very well within the context of the video game. So in terms of other stats, again, obviously strength can be 8. You don't need strength on a sorcerer. That's not going to do anything for you. 14 dexterity. We want more armor class. So now instead of starting at 13 armor class in a robe on our sorcerer, we're starting at 15 armor class on a sorcerer in a robe. We're also dodging fireballs more efficiently when we're doing spell wars with the mages and things like that. So that's pretty solid. And then, wisdom, right? Because wisdom is just going to help with the lifted checks a little bit. And also, like, mind control spells and things like that. You don't want your sorcerer getting CC'd. So, like, this spread here, specifically with the class that I mentioned, which is an S-tier class, we can go ahead and pick up Persuasion and Intimidation, which, again, I mentioned are literally two of the best skills in the game, and from, like, a min-max perspective. Cantrips, obviously, you're just going to want, like, Flame Dart. Friends is going to also help you pass charisma checks. Friends is like one of the best cantrips in the game. In case you need something to do at point blank range, you could do something like a Shocking Grasp. It's not a bad call. Most of this other stuff you can pick up later, like Ray of Frost and all of that. Blade Ward is nice. It essentially means that your sorcerer will take less physical damage, but again, I might just do Ray of Frost, because there are times for story reasons we have to put out fires and things like that, like the anti-Ethel boss fight. So I kind of like just like a full elemental spread, so fire, lightning, frost, and then friends to pass persuasion checks. And I think like that's a really good starting cantrip spread that you can build on in future levels. In terms of actual spells, you snap Magic Missiles. Magic Missiles is one of the best spells in the game. And then typically you would pick up some sort of other elemental spell, like Chromatic Orb, which, like, say you're fighting robots and you need to do thunder damage, Chromatic Orb will do that for you. So Chromatic Orb just allows you to reach those other elemental spreads. So at this point, this character is essentially already top tier. We haven't even started the game yet. We haven't talked about gear progression or anything because because gear is universal and elithid powers are universal. So the only thing that really distinguishes between a good character build and a bad character build is what's happening here, what's happening here with your race, and then what's happening here with your class and your subclass. That's basically the game in a nutshell. And then obviously having a little bit of knowledge of like what spells are good and what spells aren't good is going to be helpful. Specifically with the sorcerer, pick a dragon that you like that has a good spell. I think I like Red Dragon.